What's up, First Thing First listeners? It's your boy Shay Sharp, co-host of FS1's Undisputed. I've got great news. I'm a finalist for a Shorty Award. Go vote for your boy and make sure I bring this award home. Thank you again from the bottom of my heart for making Club Shay a success.
First things first, will it be Jameis or will it be Taysom who gets crowned heir apparent to Drew Brees? Try this one on for size. Carson Wentz or Jalen Hurts? Which quarterback will have more success this season? And how many MVPs should LeBron actually have in his trophy case? Nick's answer?
7.
All of them. Good.
No.
Good Friday morning, everyone.
It's 7.
Very true.
2. Oh, Brandon's taking some away.
I'm playing. No, take that back.
All right. Listen, Nick, Brandon, Kevin, it's Friday. It's First Things First. If you had a vote, Nick, if only you had a vote, we could put a lot of this to rest. But you don't, so we continue to discuss.
I think we can discuss with or without the vote.
Yes, it could. But if you had a vote, it would be more fun. All right, let's start today, though. Let's talk some NFL. Free agency. Boy, it's been a blast. A wild week. A lot of moving parts. Bucs jumped out first. They brought back most of their guys, the guys that helped them get to and win a Super Bowl, including Tom Brady. Then there's Brady's former team, the Patriots. Bill Belichick, man, spent a bunch of money retooling their entire roster. He had no choice after what we saw last season. Sorry, Kevin Wildes, resident Patriots fan. So let's take a step back. Look what they did here. Godwin, Gronk, the linebackers, the key signings for Tampa. Patriots might have signed, though, the best 2 tight ends available out there. Nick, we'll start with you. Who has had the better offseason so far? The Buccaneers or the Patriots?
The Buccaneers have had the better offseason, and I think there is a very simple and easy comparison that I think all of my wonderful colleagues will agree with from this year's free agency to last year's free agency. The 2021 Bucs are doing what the 2020 Chiefs did, and that led to the Chiefs, after winning the Super Bowl, starting 14-1 and getting back to the Super Bowl. And the 2021 Patriots are doing what the 2020 Miami Dolphins did, and that led to the Dolphins getting up to 10 wins, doubling their win total, and almost making the playoffs. So I think they are both making good moves, but the team that was the best team in football at the end of the season, keeping everyone together, nearly everyone, we'll see what happens with Antonio Brown and some of the other guys, but the key pieces is way better than a team last year that I would argue was not actually as good as the 7-win record suggests. 2 of those wins came on a field goal at the gun. An extra win came against the Jets. I think the Patriots played more like a 5 or 6-win team last year. That team, reloading talent-wise, or I guess I should say loading talent-wise, Brandon, is good, but it's not as good as what the Tampa Bay Bucs did, at least in my estimation.
Yeah, Nick, you know, I'm with you when you're right. This one, you're wrong, buddy. The Patriots had the better offseason. They had the better free agency so far. You know, the Bucs did exactly what they were supposed to do. We know they went to the Super Bowl. We know they won it. They're supposed to run it back. But when you look at free agency, in my mind, it's about making your team better and putting yourself in a position to be able to compete at a higher level. So the Bill Belichick and the New England Patriots, they did that. Now you're going to see coaching on full display next year, week in and week out. He can now go back to doing what he's always done, and that's 12 personnel, being able to hone in on key matchups. You got tight ends versus linebackers and safeties. That's going to be a huge matchup for the New England Patriots, going against most of these teams with weak linebackers that can't cover. A lot of these guys can hit, but they can't move. They can't stop. So when you look at how the New England Patriots are set up, I think they're going to be in position to compete. I love what they're doing as far as bringing back Matt Patricia. Didn't work out as a head coach. The mad scientist with the pencil in his ear just didn't work out in Detroit. But when we talk about defensive coordinator, he was right where he needed to be when he was in New England. So I love that. There you go, buddy. Put your pen in your ear. And I love Josh McDaniels. So I got to go with your team, resident Patriots fan, the Patriots. Let's go.
Thank you. I thought you were going to talk about the resident GM. I just don't want to let this pass. Nicholas, I don't know if your role as resident GM allows you to give and take wins. Because if you do, could I also request that we won against the Bills when Cam fumbled and we won against the Seahawks when we got stuffed at the 1? So actually, 9-7, not 5-11. Big turn of events. I'm going to go with, believe it or not, folks, that the Patriots had the best offseason. And it's not just my hometown fandom, although it does have a significant weight to it. Our friends at Pro Football Focus, the geniuses, released their improvement index. And whenever there is a graphic that supports the Patriots being great, I'm like, guys, we need to get this in the show. They are the #1 team on Pro Football Focus's improvement. Do we have the graphic? No, but we will later in the show. So here's what happened, Nick. We signed Cam. We signed Trent Brown. Then we went on the free agent frenzy. Then we got Hunter Henry. And I'm like, surely we're done. Nope, still coming. Then we got Kyle Van Noy. But under every parade, a little rain must fall. And we're probably going to have to say goodbye to our wonderful captain and center, David Andrews. To the point, oh, hey, welcome back, everybody. It's the improvement graphic. But now we're talking about Julian Edelman released his Instagram post saying goodbye to David Andrews. And I said, you know what? Hall of Famer Julian Edelman, you're right. Just like we lost Joe Tooney, that's okay. But guess what? Re-signed, Nick. So I'm going to say that the Patriots had the better offseason.
So listen, I'm not going to relitigate the Bills game with you, but no game has been more misremembered. If Cam didn't fumble, the Patriots were kicking a field goal to tie, to go to overtime. And I'm not here to extol the virtues of the Bills, but assigning everyone's like, if they would have won this one, if they would have won this one, they won 7 games. 2 of those wins came at the gun. Nobody thought that was a good team last year. But I appreciate and respect the moves that they made. But you know that some of this was out of desperation. And when you act out of desperation, you are not able to be as judicious with your decisions as the Patriots typically are. And so, Brandon, I look at what the Bucs did, and I feel like I'm going to be struck down by a bolt of lightning right now because I'm going to talk about how great the Bucs offseason was. I don't know that I feel like they overpaid for anybody. Maybe Godwin, now that we see the receiver market, but it's a 1-year franchise tag, so that doesn't hurt you long term. I feel like the Patriots had to overpay a bit for Jonnu, for Hunter Henry, for Judon. And so that, to me, factors into who had the better offseason, the value you got in retaining your players or in going out and overpaying guys.
Yeah, well, to me, man, the NFL is about 1-year contracts. And a lot of this stuff we don't even know. When you look at these contracts, Nick, we don't know what they really are. You know, you hear about these guarantees, you hear about it, but when you really look at the language, a lot of these 3-year deals are 1-year deals where the Patriots can get out. Don't forget, man, Bill Belichick, we know who he is as the head coach. We know who he is as the general manager. We've been crushing him. He hasn't done a phenomenal job as far as drafting guys the last 10 years or so. But at the end of the day, this thing right here, when you talk about managing the cap and managing the team and managing people, he is the best in the business, not just in football, but in a lot of industries. A lot of people study his management skills and his leadership skills. So when you look at these contracts, we really got to hold off until we understand exactly what they are. Because a lot of these 3-year deals, a lot of these 4-year deals, it sounds big and it sounds pretty, but they're really 1-year, 2-year deals where they can get out of it. So when we think about this question, as far as winning free agency, it's about, can you compete next year? 1-year deals, Jenna, and the New England Patriots are going to be right back where they need to be.
All right, at least at this point, the Patriots and the Bucs appear to be set. You know who's not set? The Seattle Seahawks. They got a couple decisions, namely one big decision they have to make, and that's what they're going to do with Russell Wilson. We'll take a break. How confident should Hawks fans be that Russ will even be there come week 1? Because if not, they got a lot of moves to come in the next couple of weeks. We'll talk about that next. First things first. First things first, listeners, I wanted to tell you about our brand new Fox Sports app and website, foxsports.com, reimagined for the modern sports fan. Go ahead, download the new app right now. You don't even have to pause this episode. Every day on the new app and website, you'll see the top stories in sports. Plus, a rich world of written content, videos, social media, and analytics to give you a 360-degree view of the most important stories of the day. Streaming live TV has never been so easy or elegant. Every Fox Sports game, including all pregame and postgame shows, as well as the televised version of this show, just a click away. For the extra invested fan, we also go deep with real-time wagering lines, trending prop bets, win probability, and key player projections. So download the new Fox Sports app or visit www.foxsports.com. We're going to play a little game called Sliding Scale, gentlemen, where we're going to start in Seattle. Seahawks appear committed to Russ, at least for the time being, since they turned down that massive offer from Chicago. So, Brandon, on a scale of 1 to 10, how confident are you Russell Wilson will be the Seahawks' Week 1 starter?
5, Jenna. The door is still open for Russ to leave. Nick Wilds, here's the conflict. The conflict is this. Pete Carroll wants to play football a certain way. Rightfully so. You go back to the USC days. What did he have? What did he want to do? Play good defense, and then he had Reggie Bush, Lindell White, and then he had a big old wide receiver out there. And he wants to throw the ball up and let him make a play. And then he wants to run the ball on every other play. That's his philosophy. It worked then. It also worked in the NFL. It worked and helped them get to the Super Bowl. Now you have Russell Wilson saying, hey, I'm happy. I'm glad that we won that Super Bowl, but now I'm trying to go to another level. And he doesn't want to hand the ball off over and over again and just throw jump balls to that guy, DK Metcalf. That's the conflict. So I give this a 5 because Pete Carroll knows what he has, but he wants to do it his way, and Russ is pushing back.
I'm going to give it an 8 because I just don't see who is trading for him this offseason now that they've turned down the Bears' offer. And let me give credit because, by the way, I've talked about Odell as Randy Moss, the career arc, and I got this right here as a letter from Kevin Wilde's attorney. It's a cease and desist saying I must credit him for all takes that he claims he came up with. So let me give credit to Kevin Wilde for saying that he thinks Russ moves on next year. I think that's where this is moving, when the cap hit would go down from 39 to 26. So I think for this year, it's an 8. I think Wildes is right that if this is going to happen, it's a year from now. Gave full credit.
I'm in a really tough spot here. You gave me credit for my take, but now I'm going to give credit to Brandon's take. Because you know on Twitter where it's like, oh, this person had it first. Oh, this person had it. Brandon Marshall had it first. America, pay attention to the NFL's hottest news reporter on the Russell Wilson watch. I'm going with Brandon's 5 is my answer. Whatever Brandon says is gospel on this stuff, so I'm going Brandon's 5 against my own take. I'm going to have to cease and desist on that cease and desist, Nick. Sorry.
Okay, got it. No problem.
This video of Russ stresses me out every time we run it. Like, even though he's an incredible athlete, I fear he's going to keel over and all the oxygen to his brain. Head to Kansas City now, where the Chiefs have started to piece together their O-line. You got to protect Patrick Mahomes. Got to get back to Super Sunday. Got to ask you, Brandon, scale of 1 to 10, how confident are you that the Chiefs will be back in the Super Bowl next season?
Ooh, I think this is a week 8 because I could easily be at a 9 or a 10. They may do something that we haven't seen in a very long time, going back to the 90s, 91 and 94. You remember what happened then, Nick? It was the Buffalo Bills going back to back to back to back Super Bowls. Now, they lost them all, okay? But this team right here is set up for success. Why are they set up for success? Because they have everything they need to dominate the AFC. They have the best quarterback, they have the best tight end, and they have what we would say an underappreciated #1 wide receiver right there in Tyreek Hill, and you have a rookie running back in Clyde Edwards-Helaire. If they continue to revamp and bolster this offensive line and protect Patrick Mahomes, he's going to do what he's always done. Just be magnificent and run through the AFC. Yeah. Now, the other challenge they have, or I wouldn't even say a challenge, it's actually giving them more room to just dominate, I don't know what they're doing in Baltimore. What's going on? Are we just going to run it back with Greg Roman? And then you look at what is it, the Steelers and Big Ben and then Baker Mayfield? So I'm going to give this a week 8 because it could easily be a 9 or a 10, and these guys may do what the Buffalo Bills did back in the 90s.
Yeah, not only could it be a 9 or a 10, it is a 10. And Brandon's last point's the most important one. What other AFC contender got markedly better? The Chiefs added an all-pro guard. They added Kyle Long. They upgraded the one thing that at the end of the season was their Achilles heel, obviously, the injuries on the offensive line. The only AFC contender, Wilds, to me, that made a jump is possibly the Bills, because they did add that quarterback competition to try to see to push Josh Allen a little bit with Trubisky right on his heels. But aside from that,
oh my goodness, stop. All right, your take is done. Your take is done.
What? No. You didn't even mention the Bills. Hey, Freudian slip by Brandon. He's like, what an AFC contender? The Ravens, the Steelers, the Browns. He knows deep in his subconscious. He's like, I can't believe in the Bills. I'm not even going to mention them. So the answer is a 10, Wilds.
Go, Wilds, go.
I'm at a 3. We know that 3 teams have made 3 consecutive Super Bowls. No, listen.
Hater.
Because I think you guys are stacked. You signed Mike Remmers back, who had a bad Super Bowl, but it's good to have a little bit of depth there. But here's the thing, Nick. And you mention it all the time, and your team mentioned it during the first parade. The D Ford offsides. Oh, it still gets you. You're still mad about it. And it's just pure luck. It was just a call. Could have gone your way. It didn't. I don't think on just pure skill and tactics you get to another Super Bowl. I think a little bad luck comes your way, just like the D Ford offsides, and you end up coming up a little short. So I'm going 3.
Yeah, injury's the only concern.
Nick's fully concerned. Let's talk some Dallas Cowboys now. They got Dak locked in for the next 4 years. Feels like the rest of the division, the rest of that NFC East will now be chasing down Dallas for the foreseeable future. Brandon Marshall, scale of 1 to 10, how confident are you the Cowboys will win the NFC East?
Oh, I'm at a 5 here. They have what they need to win that division. It's not strong. We know that. It's the weakest division in the NFL right now. And the reason why I'm at a 5 is because of all of Washington's moves. You go get my guy Fitzy. Hey, I'm going to start getting you a Hall of Famer Fitzpatrick. That's what I'm going to start saying, guys. And then you go get Curtis Samuel. You go get William Jackson. William, this dude, this kid, this cornerback, I'm telling you, is now going to ascend into that top tier at the cornerback position because he has that pass rush. So I love that move there. They bring back their all-pro guard and the Sheriff. I really like what Washington's doing. It's going to be a scary year for them and everybody they're facing.
Yeah, I have a 7.5 with the remaining 2.5 would be Washington because the Giants aren't a real team and the Eagles aren't a real team this year. However, Brandon said, I'm going to start calling Ryan Fitzpatrick future Hall of Famer. And I grumbled because I grumble whenever we have a fraudulent Hall of Famer called future Hall of Famer. But Kevin Wilds also grumbled like, oh, my God. Let me tell you something right now, Kevin Wilds. Ryan Fitzpatrick has a far better Hall of Fame case than Julian bleeping Edelman, who barely should make the Patriots Hall of Fame. So you don't get to grumble about Fitzy with Brandon since you started us on this fraudulent Hall of Famer path with the Edelman stuff. Keep the grumbles to yourself, sir.
We're going to talk about charity. Right. We're going to talk about charity later in the show when we talk LeBron James, so we'll get back to that.
Oh, my God.
Wow, he's going back at you. I don't think, just to be factual, my answer is a 5, but I don't think that Ryan Fitzpatrick, and I might be wrong, and Dusty, can you let me know if this is true? Has Ryan Fitzpatrick been the Super Bowl MVP? Hold on 1 second, fellas. Dusty's looking it up. And Edelman has. Yeah, the answer is no. He wasn't, so sorry. My answer is a 5, and Edelman is still a Hall of Famer.
Larry Brown in the Hall of Fame of Super Bowl MVPs no one will ever remember. It'll be he can hang out with
Larry Brown.
I can't even get Dusty to text me back. He's talking to you right into your ear. Talk some basketball. Here we go. The King. How many MVPs should LeBron actually have? Nick's all fired up for a whole host of reasons this morning, but this one in particular, it's next. First things first.
Charity!
Hey, First Things First listeners, it's Charlotte Wilder here to tell you about my new podcast with Mark Titus called the People's Sports Podcast. It comes out every Thursday, and Mark and I take one of the big stories of the week, and then we go off on tangents you never saw coming. This might mean that we start talking about the Dodgers winning the World Series and end up wondering if Knicks fans deserve happiness. Or begin with LeBron's greatness and end up drafting our ultimate beer league softball team made up of old athletes. Whatever it is, the only rule of the show is that it has to be fun and funny, because these days we could all use as many laughs as we can get. So check it out wherever you get your podcasts and come down weird sports rabbit holes with us. We can't wait to have you. Now, back to First Things First.
Back here with Chris Broussard. Talking Hornets-Lakers from L.A. last night. Anthony Davis still out. LeBron James still in. Big time in this one. Turned in a performance worthy of a fun little MVP discussion we like to have here. 37 points. Helped lead the Lakers. Fourth straight win for them. We're going to discuss his MVP chances in a second. But first, listen to Kyle Kuzma make his case for the King. Hang on.
The NBA MVP is it's a very political award. So, Bron has been MVP at least 8, 9, 10 times. Everybody knows that.
I should have more than 4, I believe. But I don't, and I don't sit around thinking about it or crying about it, whatever the case may be. I just try to come in the next season and be the MVP and be talked about again. I bet, a lot of the greatest that played this game feel like they should have had more as well. If you ask any one of those guys, so this is another opportunity, for me, to be able to be recognized as the best player, for that particular season, and in this season. So hopefully I can continue just to play great basketball and see what happens at the end.
Not bitter at all. Nick, I got to go back to what Kyle Kuzma said. Is he right that LeBron should have been MVP at least 8, 9, 10 times?
No, Kyle Kuzma's not right. But LeBron should have been MVP 7 times. I'll show you them in just a moment. But first, point of order, because I need to remind the audience of a fact that Chris Broussard likes to always misrepresent. Broussard, my good friend, will say, well, Nick thinks LeBron should be MVP every year. Not true. The last year that I advocated for LeBron to be MVP was 2017. The year everyone fell in love with Russell Westbrook's triple-doubles. I thought LeBron was the MVP that year. 18 was clearly Harden. 19, LeBron was hurt. And last year, I said it was Giannis. It was close, but it was Giannis. But here are the 3 years that I feel, and by the way, I know this, these are the 3 that really stick in LeBron's craw, that he feels he got screwed out of. His 3rd year in the league, when everyone was falling all over themselves about Steve Nash, LeBron came in 2nd. He was obviously the better player. The win difference was like, I think, 54-50. His 1st year in Miami, everyone knows the wrong guy won the MVP. It was clearly it was, we're angry at LeBron for leaving the Cavs. And then his 1st year back in Cleveland, Steph's 1st MVP is the one that, to this day, those last 2 are the ones he would bring up. I leave Cleveland, they're the worst team in the league for 4 years. I come back, we're the 2 seed, and all of a sudden, Steph Curry wins it. So those are the 3 years. The statistical case is in his favor. The eye test was in his favor. So Broussard, he shouldn't have 8, 9, or 10, but he should have at least 7. The 4 he won, and those 3 right there.
Look, Kuzma's wrong, as you said. If Kuzma wants to say he was the best player in the world for 8, 9, 10 years, sure. I don't think even players that won the MVP award over LeBron would disagree with that. So that's good. But that's not, we've never just given it to the best player every year. And thankfully, because then you could vote before the season or halfway through the season. And LeBron's right. He brought up a good point. Michael Jordan, should he have more than 5? Probably. Shaq and Kobe have 2 combined. They each have 1. Should they have more? Probably. So LeBron's not alone in this. Nick, I'll get to your 7 is too much. I looked at this year by year, and I got to be honest, the only year I came up with where LeBron could have won it that he didn't, in my view, was 05-06. His third year in Cleveland, which was a tremendous season, they won 50 games. He had really no help. He averaged 31 points a game, a career high, 7 boards, 6.5 assists. The first year in Miami, how? Derrick Rose had no other stars. Luol Deng and Joakim Noah were his best players with him, and they won 62 games. LeBron was with Wade and Bosh, and they won 59. You got better players, you win fewer games, you don't get it. Then the first year in Cleveland, I thought Harden. I voted for Harden that year, I believe, over Steph. Okay. LeBron, they won 50 games, I think it was. He didn't go to Cleveland by himself. Kyrie was there, obviously a great player. 53. But he brought Kevin Love there when ESPN and other people thought Love was a top 10 player in the world. He was putting up historic numbers in Minnesota, so it wasn't like LeBron went there by himself. So I got to be honest, I'm looking at other years. I only think 05, 06, so maybe 5.
Okay, so the Derrick Rose year is an abomination. Everyone knows it's an abomination. I can't believe you're defending it. The Steph year, the first one, they won 67 games. So I understand when you win 65-plus games, you're the best player, you typically win an MVP. The difference is that LeBron went to a team that had been, in the 4 years he was gone, they got the #1 pick of the draft 3 times, and then immediately they're a 50-plus win team. But I'm just telling you, it happens to be my opinion as well, but those are the 3 years, Jenna, that stick out to LeBron, that those should have been his MVPs. Not Steph's unanimous, not KD's MVP. Those are the 3 years that stick out to him, Jenna.
I want to go back to something else that Kuzma said in that clip after the game. He called the MVP a political award. Broussard, do voters want to give LeBron this award? Is this a narrative that's sort of building up that they want to award it as a narrative honor?
Senator Chris.
It's not political.
Cut him off.
The media are the best people to vote for this award, and that's been proven historically in every sport. If you let players vote, remember when the players voted for the All-Star team the first year, a few years ago, and like 130 guys left LeBron off their ballot? I mean, come on. Players have shown they shouldn't be voting. Media is the most objective, even as we're human. I have 5 precedents that I use or 5 criteria I use to vote for MVP. First, obviously, your numbers and performance has to be great. Performance is key. We would look at Brooklyn and say Kevin Durant's the best player, but James Harden has had the greatest performance this year. Team record, since 1981, when media started voting, no one's won it with less than 50 wins other than the year Westbrook won it with the triple-double average. Supporting cast, obviously, who you have playing with you, that's going to help your team record. If you don't have other stars, then you're going to win, and you win more games. That's huge because you did it mostly on your own. Historical precedent, we didn't give it to Michael Jordan every year that he was the best player in the league. So I don't think going forward, whether it's LeBron, whether it's, another player coming up in the future, that shouldn't be the criteria because it wouldn't be fair to the guys in the past. And historical significance, I'll give you an example. Steve Nash won 2 straight. The third year after his 2 straight, there were people trying to convince me Nash should win it again. I said, hold up. The only players that win it 3 straight times, Bill Russell, Wilt Chamberlain, and Larry Bird. There's no way Steve Nash belongs in that class. He can't win that. So historical significance plays a role as well.
So, but there is, and Broussard, I want to talk about this with you because there is a growing sentiment, and I hear it, and our friend Kevin Wildes, argues that, well, the media wants LeBron to win this, that there is a narrative push for him. And my pushback to that is, it is hard for me to find a year where LeBron has benefited from some type of media narrative. Last year, keep in mind that the voting stuff was supposed to be everything you did up until the shutdown. Last year, I thought it was Giannis, but it was very close. And it was the Bucs had been on a 70-win pace, but then they fell off right before the shutdown, and where they were on a 66-win pace and the Lakers were on a 64-win pace. It was very close between those two. The voting was 85 to 16. The year of Giannis versus LeBron. The year Harden won in 2018. And Kyrie had left, and LeBron carried that Cavs team, played all 82, set a career high in assists, set a career high in rebounds, all of it. The voting was 86-15 Harden. The year Steph won his first one that I referenced earlier, the voting was 100 for Steph, 25 for Harden, 5 for LeBron. So I don't think there actually is a historical example in LeBron's career of him getting just a bunch of media fanboys voting for LeBron. When he has won the MVP, he has run away with it because it has not even been, there's been no argument. And whenever there has been an argument, LeBron or someone else, he's lost. Like, anytime it's been a two-man race with LeBron, one of the two, it's gone to the other guy. So I actually think the narrative has worked against him historically.
I would agree with you. I wouldn't say the narratives worked against him as if people don't want to give him the award, but I agree with you. He hasn't benefited from any narrative that, you know, has given him awards he doesn't deserve. I think this would be the year. If ever there was a year the narrative was working in LeBron's favor and might help him get the award, I think it would be this year. And I think that's based off what happened last year, where, again, Giannis not only won it, but won it going away. And then in the playoffs, we see Giannis fizzle, and we see LeBron play tremendously in a difficult situation in the bubble and lead the Lakers to the championship. So I think people now are kind of in the back of their mind thinking, maybe LeBron should have got it last year. You know, if he plays well and the Lakers win a lot of games, if he's close, we'll reward him this year. Plus, he's in his 18th year. That's historically significant.
And I think we can set the 18th year stuff aside. At least I think we should, because it isn't supposed to be a Lifetime Achievement Award. But I also think two of the biggest arguments that people used against LeBron when he was in Cleveland were, well, they have all these wins, but it's in the East. And, well, but he's not caring about the defensive side of the ball. Now, they have the second best record in all of basketball in the West, and they are the #1 defense in basketball, with him being the biggest reason behind that since Anthony Davis has missed a month plus now. So those arguments, Jenna, that once upon a time were used against him, if you want to be intellectually consistent, they have to work in his favor when he's in the tougher conference and doing it on both ends of the court this year.
And Broussard, LeBron's your pick right now at this point, I assume, correct?
He's neck and neck with James Harden.
Oh, okay. Our Lakers, by the way, back in action tomorrow against the Hawks. Back to football now. The Carson Wentz era in Indy officially underway. Which quarterback will be more successful this season, Wentz or his former teammate Jalen Hurts? Next, first things first.
But if I was picking president...
Welcome back. We got some big news on the NFL front to pass along. Fox and the league announced yesterday a new and expanded media rights agreement that runs through the 2033 season. The new 11-year agreement extends Fox's coverage of premier NFC games, new and exclusive holiday games, so much more. Fox, America's #1 network for the NFL. We could not be more excited for what's to come. I myself, Nick, am excited. Looks like I'll be coming over to your house for the next 11 years on Sunday afternoons. Get excited, buddy.
Well,
get excited.
I'm super excited and happy about this. America's Game of the Week has been the #1 show of any format on television for the entirety of my adult life. And with this deal, Brandon, Fox peels another few Super Bowls, which means we got another at least 2, probably 3 opportunities for Fox to broadcast what you're seeing right there. Patrick Mahomes hoisting the Lombardi. Whoa. We won't even need a comeback in those, so I'm excited for all of it. That's right, buddy. Yeah.
No, what you should be excited for is that we're going to have a job. That's what you need to be excited for. We can talk some more
helpful
football.
Too.
That's the thing that's most exciting, right?
There you go.
Yeah.
Yep.
This is great.
Plus that Nick and I get to spend Sundays together, right? Plus that part. All that plus more. All right, speaking of the NFL, let's talk some football. We head to Indy where Colts' new quarterback Carson Wentz, he met with the media first time yesterday. You had to know he was going to get bombarded with questions about his falling out in Philly. And he did, most notably, his relationship with Jalen Hurts last season. Take a listen.
Jalen and I had a good relationship, and you know, I wish the kid nothing but the best. You know, I think he's got a lot of ability. You know, I was impressed with how quickly he kind of grasped, you know, the offense and really understood things and, you know, how well he did. Obviously, I would have loved to have been the guy playing the year out. There's no mistake in that, but that's not how it unfolded. And, you know, I got a lot of respect for him, and, you know, it's just the way it unfolded. You know, there's a lot of things that had to fall into place for all these things to go down and for me to be here. But, you know, I said it earlier, I'm going to beat it to death. God has a plan. He's got a perfect plan, and you know, I can argue with it sometimes, but it ain't going to get me anywhere. So, you know, I'm here, and I'm excited for this one.
See, here's my thing. I would have loved to have heard Carson Wentz say that last year. I think that would have helped a lot of Philly fans as well, and he was sort of mum on all of that. But, Brandon, which quarterback do you think will have more success this season, Wentz or Jalen Hurts?
Carson Wentz, no doubt. I mean, first of all, you got to look at how these two teams and these two quarterbacks are set up. Carson Wentz, he has a top 10 defense. He has running backs. He has a really good offensive line. He has a really good coach. And then also I love how management approaches things. Chris Ballard, he's never going to let one guy, especially the quarterback position, be bigger than the organization. And that's where they went wrong in Philadelphia. Frank, I was like, man, guys, why do y'all love Frank and Carson together so much? And the first thing they said was, well, Frank is a guy that can get to anybody. They went back to Phillip Rivers, and everybody's laughing at them about signing Phillip Rivers, and you can see how efficient Phillip Rivers played last year. So they're excited about Frank and Carson's relationship and what they can do together, and they really believe that they have the guys in the locker room to make a run at the Super Bowl. Now, when you look in Philly, they had some major issues last year, and those issues haven't been addressed. And I don't know if they can be addressed because they're up against the salary cap. Now, the Philadelphia Eagles been known to be creative. But right now, you have no DBs. You have no wide receivers. You still have problems at the offensive line. You don't have depth at the linebacker position. So what the hell are you going to do? So this kid, Jalen Hurts, I wouldn't be surprised if he has a terrible year next year because, yeah, he's the quarterback, but he's one guy. The quarterback, he needs so many more people around him, and he has nobody. Just let go of Alshon Jeffrey. They let go of Deshaun Jackson. Obviously, they didn't add anything last year. Those dudes in and out of the lineup and barely gave any production. But you have nothing there, Wilds.
Yeah, so I definitely think it's Carson as well, Brandon. And when we look back at what happened to the Eagles, you could point to a lot of factors on why Carson wasn't successful. It was that offensive line where he got sacked 50 times in 12 games. It may have been the lack of weapons. It may have been a little bit of a leadership issue. Well, now you move to Indianapolis, Nick. The offensive line is great. They protected Rivers really well. And then they got more weapons. And also, I think Carson Wentz's leadership is going to go up a notch. And he addressed it yesterday. This is what he said. I'm going to learn from it and try to be the best teammate I can be. If any of my teammates think I wasn't the best teammate, I apologize and wish I could have been better. So I think for those three reasons, specifically the leadership part, will make sure Carson Wentz is better than he's ever been before.
Well, I appreciate your general optimistic nature, Wilds. It's one of the reasons you're great for the show. Unfortunately, that is not my general nature. And to quote one Richard Pryor from the great Brewster's Millions, I vote none of the above. I think the Colts might be fine. I don't think Wentz will be. There is no historical precedent in the entirety of NFL history for a quarterback outside of his rookie season having a year as bad as Carson Wentz's was last year and rebounding to ever be good again. He would be the first quarterback ever to have a year as bad as he had last year that wasn't his rookie season and be good sometime down the road. And then there's Jalen. And you guys talked about what Philly doesn't have to support him. I agree with that. I also think people have kind of tricked themselves into believing Jalen showed a lot more than he showed. I think Jalen is a total unknown. We saw him start 4 games. The 4 games were, his first one, he beat Taysom Hill. Congrats. The second one, he played well, and they lost to Arizona. The third one, that he played poorly against a Cowboys defense that everyone was scoring on. And the fourth one, we all remember him being benched at halftime against Washington. But in the first half against Washington, he was 7 of 20. He was struggling. And so I'm not saying he won't be good, but Brandon, you're wincing. And I didn't see the evidence of it. I didn't see a ton of like, oh, this guy is definitely going to be the Eagles' long-term quarterback.
Wait, and Brandon, to piggyback off Nick, he did get that vote of confidence from Jeff Lurie, the owner, just a couple weeks ago, who said, I'm going to have as much talent around him. I'm telling all the coaches to push as much as we can. We want him to be the guy, whatever you can do to make him comfortable. So I think that's sort of an added benefit that goes maybe towards his confidence, plus, like Nick was talking about, that untapped potential.
But they can't. But they can't, Jenna, because they're up against the cap. In resident GM, I'll wear your cap right now. How are they going to get creative? Now, we've known them to be creative, but free agency pretty much has come and gone. And they didn't make any moves. I mean, they signed a D tackle, but what else? Or re-signed their D tackle? You have big gaps in that team. They don't have enough firepower to go out there and get guys that can help him ascend to the next level. And Nick, come on, bruh. You talking about those first 2 games? He beat the hottest defense in the National Football League. So, yeah, you're talking about Taysom Hill, but don't forget about where the Saints was when he beat him. That was his first game behind center, leading that huddle. And then the second game, yes, they lost the game, but he had 4 touchdowns, and he looked sensational.
He played well against Arizona.
He has everything he needs. And then the other thing that jumped out to me, because we saw the talent, right? You can get better at that. You know, for him to go out there and play well in spurts, all right, we saw that. The thing that separates most quarterbacks, or the number one thing that separates quarterbacks, is IQ. So you heard Carson Wentz say, he said, I was surprised, I was shocked at how quickly he picked up the offense. That is the thing that's going to help this kid in the long term. In the short term, he's probably going to get his butt whooped because he has no help and they have no firepower to go get him help, Nick.
Yeah, listen, maybe for me it's confirmation bias, because when I watched him in college, I didn't think, oh, this is a future NFL franchise starting quarterback. I thought he could be a useful guy, a useful player. And then when I feel like we got overly excited by his first couple games win. And again, I wish him luck, but I just don't think we have seen enough evidence, especially because there are a lot of young quarterbacks who have a ton of success in their first game or 2. I vividly remember Daniel Jones coming in relief for Eli Manning and the whole world being like, yup, Dave Gettleman fooled us again, got it right. And guys, then they regress once people get film on them. They regress once the league catches up to them a bit. And so maybe it's the fact that I, in general, am skeptical of non-first-round quarterbacks. But I just think Jalen's got a lot of question marks, Brandon.
Yeah, and I'm going to go back to something you said earlier really quickly. You talked about there's nothing in history that shows that a quarterback can play so bad and then come back the following year and play lights out. You're wrong. Yeah. Ryan Fitzpatrick, okay? Ryan Fitzpatrick did it. That's why we need to talk about him as the Hall of Famer.
Brandon, he was never lights out.
That's all.
Brandon, I can't let it stand. The Fitzy stuff is just unbelievable.
Yeah, big changes both in Indy and Philly, even around that quarterback. So it's been a busy last couple of days in the NFL free agent world. Has Bill Belichick had a better offseason than Brady and the Bucs? We toss that around on the other side. First things first. Hall of Famer Ryan Fitzpatrick. Back here, first things first, talking to Saints now. The Drew Brees era is over, so which era will take its place? Will it be Mr. 30-30, Jameis Winston, or Mr. Inspector Gadget, Taysom Hill? Well, Drew Brees himself chimed in, saying, quote, sounds like there's going to be a pretty good quarterback competition between the two. All right, he only kind of chimed in. It wasn't like a full chime. When you look at their careers, though, well, pick your poison. You want a quarterback that's limited throwing or a quarterback who often throws it to the other team? We got LeVar back with us now, but Brandon, let me start with you. Can Jameis or Taysom be Brees' heir apparent, or is this just a Band-Aid for New Orleans?
Go. Jenna, sometimes you got to be bold, and sometimes you got to be confident. And we're on live TV, and I'm about to be bold, and I'm about to be confident. Y'all can open up Twitter.
Let's hear it.
I'm on Twitter. Ready? Get ready to tweet me.
I'm ready.
IG, I'm IG story. I'm not on Snapchat, and I'm not on TikTok.
Nope.
So we got to focus on Twitter and IG. Here we go. I'm all in on Jameis Winston. Jameis Winston is that guy. I'm gonna focus on the positive, guys. 2019, 5,100 yards, 33 touchdowns. When you look at those two and put him in the top 5, Jameis Winston under Sean Payton's tutelage and sitting under Drew Brees for an entire year has to. It makes me believe that this kid is going to go to a whole nother level. I'm all in on Jameis Winston, and I'm all in on the Saints next year. Nick, now you know before the year, what did I say? LeVar, you don't know this. Before the year, this is what I said. I said the Saints will win the division, but they will implode in the postseason. In Tampa, Tom Brady going to do their thing. That's what I said. I said this team has underachieved because of Drew Brees and Sean Payton and how they work together, and everybody crushed me. And then what happened? Exactly what I said. So, LeVar, I'm all in on Jameis Winston right now. Tweet me, Instagram me, don't Snapchat, don't TikTok me. I don't have that stuff.
Oh, well, I probably won't get any ats because my take is very sensible and logical, and it's just right, down the line of how you should be looking at this. Neither one of these guys are the heir apparent to Drew Brees.
That's correct.
Neither one of them will achieve at the level where they are the heir apparent to Drew Brees. Will they be effective? Sure, both can be effective. Will they be serviceable? Maybe even more than serviceable. Yes, they can both be. But heir apparent, to say heir apparent to Drew Brees is to say that you believe that both of these guys actually have the potential to be Hall of Fame worthy quarterbacks during their time as a starter with this New Orleans Saints team. So I don't give them that type of confidence. I don't give them that type of nod. I know you're bullish on it, B, but I don't buy it.
I don't think you have to believe either one of these guys can be a Hall of Famer to believe I take heir apparent to mean, can either one of them be the starter for the Saints for the next 5 years? Can either one of them be a franchise quarterback for the Saints? And the odds are the answer is no. But if it's going to be either one of these guys, I'm going to bet on the one that is actually a quarterback. Jameis is in a very interesting quarterback competition because he's competing with a guy who's not a quarterback. So it's like, hey, I've got this horse race, and I've got a horse here, and then I also have a couch. It's like, well, I mean, even if the horse is sick, he's going to beat the couch because that's not a horse. Like, Taysom's not a quarterback. Taysom's a useful player. Taysom's a valuable weapon. Taysom is a guy I would love to have on the Chiefs, but he's not a quarterback. And so Jameis is the right answer. And Brandon, let me ask you this. Let me just ask Brandon a quick question here. Because Brandon has some experience playing with a high-talent quarterback whose biggest issue is throws a lot of picks. I would argue your two favorite quarterbacks fall into that category. Cutler and Fitzy. Both of them, I think, have the ability to have games where it's like, oh, my God. Neither one of them ever got over it. Neither one of them ever changed. But
here's the problem.
Why do you think Jameis will change?
Okay, simple. Fitzy, he's like, look, the only way I can last in the National Football League is I got to go. I got to let it go, right? Fitzy, and one of the challenges with Fitzy, and I used to say this to us, when we were playing with the Jets. I truly believe he's so smart. He's too smart. Where he's out just like, well, 95% of the time, he's from Harvard. 95% of the time when it's 3rd and 1, with 5 minutes left on the clock in the third quarter, this defensive coordinator does this because he also did it when he was back in college. So he predicts stuff and then he tries to let it rip without even seeing it sometimes. I think that's Fitzy's problem. Jay Cutler, he just doesn't give a damn. That's Jay Cutler. He's just out there like, I don't care. Give me a cigarette. Smoking Jay. Jameis Winston, he is with Sean Payton. Sean Payton will walk up to you and say, brother, if you don't do exactly what you're supposed to do, cover 3, you read this side, bang, bang, bang. If you don't do that, I will cut you. And for that reason, that's why I believe in this couple, Jameis and Sean Payton, because if Jameis doesn't do what he's supposed to do, oh my goodness.
Neither one will make 4 years.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
Pittsburgh, hey, 4-1-2 to 4-1-2, baby. You know we keep it real. Neither one will make 4 years, Nick. B. Wilds.
Wow. So that means he's out of the league in 4 years?
Neither.
No, not a starter. No, he can be in the league.
I'm not saying out of the league, but not a starter for New Orleans.
Wilds, where's your money?
That's the,
where's your money on this, Wilds?
Go ahead, Kevin.
All right, my money, Brandon has convinced me that I'll be a Jameis guy. But here's the other person that we haven't talked about here, Bruce Arians. And Brandon, if you want to blame somebody for Jameis's interceptions, the whole no risk it, no biscuit philosophy, well, it's very opposite of what you're saying Sean Payton's going to run. Bruce Arians encouraged him to throw the ball. So, yeah, you threw for 5,000 yards and you threw a ton of picks. So if the coaching philosophy in New Orleans turns to like, hey, we don't need any risk, we want to be risk averse, and you got your LASIK surgery, you've convinced me.
What was their
Jameis
record?
is the guy.
Correct. But he threw 30 touchdowns. It was 5,000 yards if you can clean up those turnovers, because ball security, job security, the whole bit. We got to talk some Russell Wilson now.
Yours and mine.
The Seattle Seahawks. Yours and mine, baby. Seahawks seem committed to making it work with Mr. Unlimited. Guys will weigh in next.
Get that
first things
tattoo,
first,
Kevin.
on a Friday.
Ball security.
Got it.
Time now for stories to start your morning, sponsored by Ram Trucks, built to serve. We're talking LeBron James, 37 points in a win over the Hornets. Lakers picking up their 4th straight win. LeBron's teammate, Kyle Kuzma, taking some time post-game to make his MVP case for the King. Take a listen.
You know, the NBA MVP is it's a very political award. So, you know, Bron has been MVP at least 8, 9, 10 times. You know, everybody knows that.
I should have more than 4, I believe. But I don't, and I don't sit around thinking about it or crying about it, whatever the case may be. I just try to come in the next season and be the MVP and be talked about again. I bet, you know, a lot of the greatest that played this game feel like they should have had more as well. If you ask any one of those guys, you know, so this is another opportunity, you know, for me, you know, to be able to be recognized as the best player, you know, for that particular season, you know, and in this season. So hopefully I can continue just to play great basketball and see what happens at the end.
So, Nick, Kuzma called the award political. Do you think voters want to give LeBron this award, that it's a narrative award?
Well, if they do it, that'll be the first time that's happened in his career. Because here's the reality. LeBron, I argued last year Giannis was the MVP. But it was very, very close. The voters didn't think that. The voters thought it was, you know, 86-15, Giannis over LeBron. When Derrick Rose stole an MVP from LeBron, it was a 2-man race. Voters said that one's not close either. That was 113-4. When LeBron should have won his first MVP in year 3 with the Cavs, when Steve Nash won his second MVP, that one, the voters gave 57 first-place votes to Nash to, I think, 16 for LeBron. Whenever it's been a 2-man race, LeBron has been the second man per the voters. The 4 he's won, he ran away with. There was no argument. So if all of a sudden there's going to be some type of narrative or sentimental favorite working in LeBron's favor, that would be the first thing. That would be the first time it's happened. Brandon, the reason right now LeBron James is the leading in Vegas contender for MVP is because with Joel Embiid sidelined due to injury, there is no question who the best player and most valuable player in basketball has been. It's been him. Embiid had a great case. Embiid's now hurt. So it's not a narrative situation. It's, well, they have the second best record in the sport. He's been the reason why on both ends of the court. He's the MVP. It's not political. It's logical.
It's 100% political. You heard what Kuz said. What did he say? It's all political. Sports is political. That's the reality of it. As players, when you walk in the locker room, you know who's on the beat, who's covering the team that you should talk to and who you shouldn't talk to. LeBron James, he knows how to control his narrative. People in the media who supports LeBron James know how to control his narrative. The narrative at the beginning of the season was, oh, LeBron James should win the MVP because he takes no nights off. Look at his minutes. He's in year 18. He's 36 years of age, and look what he's doing. Now, look, I love LeBron James. I think he's an icon. He's an idol. But this is about two things, and this is the precedent that the NBA has set. Winning, and then also making sure you put the ball in the hoop. That's what it's about. Everything else, I mean, outside of Russell Westbrook in 2016 that we talked about yesterday, but everything else doesn't matter. Like, it got to come down to those two things. And right now, you know, LeBron James and the Lakers, they may enter the playoffs as the 5 seed. Whoa, Brandon, well, they're winning now. Well, what happened when AD went down? Well, they lost 6 of their 9 games, and now they're playing a couple teams like the Charlotte Bobcats. They're playing against the Atlanta Hawks. It doesn't, because right now they're playing against nobody. We're talking about Minnesota. We're talking about Atlanta. We're talking about Golden State. So when you think about who's doing it right now, yeah, Joel Embiid's on the bench, but you also have James Harden. James Harden is leading the MVP race. He should be leading the MVP race. This dude is averaging a triple-double since the break, and we see what he's been doing and how valuable he's been to the Nets.
Yeah, but just real quick, Wilds, if the Lakers are the 5 seed, LeBron won't be the MVP. But right now, they have the 2nd best record in basketball. So you're right, it has been about winning. And the only team in the NBA, Wilds, with a better record than them is Utah. And unless you're about to explain how Donovan Mitchell or Rudy Gobert are the MVP, then the winning argument, like, to me, Wilds, LeBron checks that box. Brandon,
there's a group of dudes. You got Jokic, you got Jokic, you got Jokic, you got Embiid, you got James Harden, and you got LeBron James, okay? Before the break, when is AD coming back? Talk to me about that. Before the break, they lost 6 of 9. Right now, everybody's going to be fooled in March. Why are they going to be fooled in March? Because the 5 teams that they're playing, they're supposed to win. It's a light schedule right now. What's going to happen in April is going to get a little heavier, and let's see if they continue to win or if they do what they did before the All-Star break. That's what I'm saying about this whole winning thing, because right now it's even.
Go ahead, Wilds.
Go ahead, Wilds. Jump in.
Oh, sure. So Nick, do you think that there is a campaign that for LeBron to win, where we know there's like 2 big campaigns on social media? One is let Russ cook, and the other is don't take LeBron for granted. So I do think that some of those past MVPs that Kyle Kuzma says he should have won, I think that weighs in on voters' minds. So when they're voting and they take his age into account, so yeah, and there's no clear-cut favorite, that the nod is going to go to him.
It didn't help him last year. I think it's that
he's
the best player on the best team and he's having the best season.